Let's get real. The pursuit of perfection can be a double-edged sword. Sure, aiming for excellence is commendable, but when perfectionism creeps in, it often leads to dissatisfaction, anxiety, and a paralyzing fear of failure. The harsh truth is that many of us get caught in a relentless cycle of striving for flawlessness that stifles creativity and stunts our growth. Think about it. Every time you start a new project, whether at work or home, you may find yourself overwhelmed with high expectations. You dive into the task only to become consumed by the need to perfect every detail. Hours slip by, and despite your tireless efforts, completion feels elusive. This is the insidious cost of perfectionism. Despite pouring in your heart and soul, you often walk away feeling like you haven't achieved anything worthwhile. I've been there. I remember a time when I prided myself on my attention to detail, convinced that only the flawless deserved recognition. Whether it was at work or in personal projects, I'd spend endless hours refining and polishing, believing that anything less than perfect was unacceptable. Yet, paradoxically, this mindset led me to anxiety and dissatisfaction. It was a pivotal moment when I realized I had to confront my perfectionist tendencies. One day, after reworking a presentation for what felt like the 100th time, I had an epiphany. I was so focused on my perceived shortcomings that I was unable to appreciate the effort I had put in. I took a step back and recognized how my perfectionism was suffocating my creativity and my sense of self-worth. Inspired by the wisdom that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, I began challenging my fears and the unrealistic standards I had imposed on myself. I found solace in biblical wisdom, particularly in Matthew 5:48, where Jesus instructs us to "Be ye perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." At first glance, this verse can feel overwhelming. However, I came to understand that this call to perfection is about striving for spiritual maturity and reflecting God's love and character in our lives, rather than achieving an unattainable standard of flawlessness. It reminded me that the call to perfection is framed within the context of God's grace. Perfection in God's eyes is not about never making mistakes. It's about aligning our hearts and intentions with His will. In this sense, perfection is more about striving for a Christ-like character rather than attaining an unattainable standard of performance. This perspective helped me recognize that perfection is about growth in love, kindness, and righteousness, not about never making mistakes. To break free from the grip of perfectionism, I set more realistic goals and established time limits for my tasks. I started prioritizing progress over perfection, celebrating small victories instead of waiting for an ideal outcome. I shifted my perspective, viewing mistakes as valuable learning experiences rather than failures. The journey to overcoming perfectionism was challenging, filled with moments of doubt where I questioned whether good enough was truly sufficient. However, over time, I learned to embrace the beauty of imperfection. Each step towards this new mindset brought me a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Shift the focus. Rather than seeing perfectionism as a need to never fail, view it as a journey of growth. Embrace the idea that your imperfections are opportunities for God's grace to work in you. This mindset fosters a spirit of humility and allows you to learn from your experiences without the burden of unrealistic expectations. Define perfection in terms of love. In Matthew 5, the surrounding verses emphasize love and compassion, especially towards others, e.g., loving your enemies. Consider that true perfection is manifested through love and character development rather than an obsession with flawless performance. Reflect on how you can express love in your daily life, knowing that it is through relationships that you mirror God's perfection. Set realistic spiritual goals. Strive for spiritual growth through consistent practices like prayer, reading scripture, and engaging in community. Rather than aiming for perfection in every action, focus on cultivating a heart that seeks to honor God in your intentions and decisions. Embrace grace in your journey. Acknowledge that you will make mistakes along the way, but these do not define your worth. God's grace is sufficient for your weaknesses, 2 Corinthians 12:9. Trust in His ability to guide you and shape your character as you pursue Him earnestly. Celebrate progress. Just as the Bible encourages us to rejoice in our growth, Philippians 1:6, take time to celebrate your spiritual and personal development. Recognizing and appreciating your progress helps shift your focus from perfectionism to a journey of faith. Here are some key steps I want you to consider. 1. Recognize the signs. Acknowledge the manifestations of perfectionism in your life, such as excessive self-criticism, procrastination, or a fear of failure. 2. Challenge your thoughts. When perfectionist thoughts arise, question their validity. Replace them with more balanced perspectives, reminding yourself that doing your best is more important than achieving an unattainable standard. 3. Set realistic goals. Break tasks into manageable steps. This approach helps you focus on progress and reduces feelings of overwhelm. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a loved one. Remember that everyone makes mistakes and that imperfection is a natural part of being human. 5. Reflect on your progress. Regularly acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. This practice reinforces a healthier mindset and encourages ongoing growth. By embracing these principles, you can gradually shift your mindset from perfectionism to a more balanced and fulfilling approach to life. Remember, this isn't just a one-time effort. It's a continual journey that requires self-awareness and intentionality. Ultimately, overcoming perfectionism is about accepting yourself as you are. Embrace the process of growth, understanding that true fulfillment lies in progress, not perfection. The next time you find yourself striving for flawlessness, pause and ask, is this pursuit helping me grow, or is it holding me back? If you found this reflection helpful, like the video, subscribe and consider sharing it with others who may benefit. Your support helps create a community that values growth and self-acceptance. Thank you.